We're about to have a football conversation with one of our favorite guests. We first talked to him at the Super Bowl a couple years back, had him on the phone a couple times since then, including a joint interview with Zach Martin earlier in the year. The Notre Dame teammates joined us and talked football on that day. You can watch his show on DraftKings. I do believe he's going to be on the Westwood One radio call for the Cowboys game Sunday on the national radio cast. Ooh. It's Mike Golic Jr. here with you in the GBag Nation. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. I wish I was going to be on the call for that. Dad's got that one, so you guys get to deal with the second best on that one. I understand that's a huge letdown for everyone involved. Please just do me a favor and act like you're excited for Dad. He really needs this. As you know, things haven't really gone his way in life, and so I want him to have a good time and feel like people are still excited to hear him, even though they would much rather hear me.
Well, we'll put the request in for donuts in the press box then.
That's right. Yes, my apologies.
There we go. Help the big guy out.
And the audience can watch you at home. This is great. Joining us from, is this a home studio? Are you at work still? What's going on in the background there? That's great.
No, we got the home studio right now. It's very awkward. So what happens when you move to Southern California is you sacrifice space for proximity to the beach. And so we are mere feet away from where I eat breakfast and where I sleep and all that stuff. But we're also only like 200 yards from the water. So home studio here, hence the fun stocking in the bookcase to make people think I've read books.
I don't mean to dox you, but what beach town did you choose?
I went down here in Manhattan Beach, so it's a nice area. I realized very quickly, I call it the Ryan Russillo when you leave ESPN to start a podcast with somebody as a bald-bearded white guy. Yeah. You also have to move to Southern California. I haven't gotten to the portion where I've started trying to write scripts for movies or television shows. I feel like Ryan's always going to have that leg up on me, but I have been mistaken for Russillo a couple times down here, which I need to apologize to him for because he's in much better shape than I am right now.
Now, I'm sure you guys are friends, but there's a lot of different ways that Ryan Russillo can go now. You know, different forks in the road there. You want to.
That is very true. I will just say strictly the career fork here in terms of leaving ESPN, moving to Southern California, and deciding to be yet another person with a podcast.
Now, we are already hot and heavy with this matchup, Golic. What do you think about the Cowboys' chances of getting a win here and how they match up with the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, this feels like the perfect opportunity for Dallas to go out and, especially, we know most of this season post San Francisco has been about proving to people again why they should believe in the Cowboys in a high leverage moment. And when you look at this Eagles team specifically right now and look at their matchup from earlier in the season, it was already close. Right now for the Eagles, in a world without Dallas Goedert having been featured largely on offense because of injury and on defense with all of the linebacker depth issues that they're running into now, really, I'd say the middle of the field on that back end in general. We saw CeeDee Lamb take advantage of that matchup big time last time. I think Brandon Cook's emergence to the offense since that game is also going to do wonders in terms of the myriad of ways that they can attack the middle of the field against this Philadelphia defense that right now it's got the biggest bullseye on its back, especially after what San Francisco just did to them.
Dak playing some of the best football of his career. Obviously, now he's starting the MVP momentum. That is picking up. Where do you stand in that MVP conversations? Him and Hurts right there.
Yeah, I think Dak should be the front runner right now. I think that Dallas's big game reputation coming off the 49ers might actually be hurting them here because you'd think the guy that's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys should have the easiest path to, at the very least, the conversation about the MVP, let alone actually being voted for it. But I do think he's played exemplary football. I think him and Mike McCarthy have a really good understanding of, all right, what plays are going to fit Dak really well, utilizing all the different personnel here, and him being well protected. I mean, I think Dak Prescott's success goes hand in hand with a healthy offensive line and especially a healthy Tyron Smith. He's looked good again, man. It's looked like the guy that we've watched for so many years. And I know him and Zach have both in the recent years taken turns kind of dealing with some of the injury bug stuff, but now with that, Tyler Smith being able to slide down into left guard full time this year, that group up front has been stout. And so it's allowed Dak to sit back comfortably in the pocket and digest what opposing defenses are throwing at him. Probably the best we've seen in his career.
Let me follow that up real quick. Brock Purdy sitting at 23 touchdowns, 6 picks. Could they put on a late charge with dominant football and the 49ers get Purdy in that conversation as well?
I think so, just because the award tends to be best quarterback on best team more often than not. And it's complicated with Brock, right? It's always been complicated. We've spent an entire season having the Brock Purdy debate about how much of his role in this offense does he deserve credit for, knowing and seeing. I mean, you guys all watch. Turn on the Eagles game against the Dallas Cowboys. you see a lot of big plays made, but you don't see nearly as many wide open receivers schemed up by Mike McCarthy as you do for this 49ers offense that's moving so much east and west, that does such a good job creating matchup nightmares, buying up the eyes of defenders and scheming plays open, that you do wonder, all right, Brock Purdy, we know, better than Jimmy Garoppolo in this offense, probably outside of Matt Ryan in 2015, the best quarterback play we've seen in a Shanahan offense as of late in the NFL. But they also see, hey, wide open plays, great scheme, all pros at so many positions. And so I do think that does work against you some in the argument, but he's still going to have his day in court for this. Absolutely.
Mike McCarthy has done an incredible job of calling plays. Like early in the season, we all felt like that maybe they would, this thing was not going to work. And you mentioned all the things with Dak, the offensive line and the receivers and stuff. But do we fail to give Mike McCarthy enough credit for what they've been able to do here the last several weeks with the scheme and the points that they've put up?
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day with Mike. It's interesting because I feel like so much of the conversation around him is lifetime baggage, right? Mm-hmm. It's the way we think of Mike McCarthy from all the way back in his Green Bay days. It's the way we still think of Mike McCarthy in other certain areas, right? The end of half, end of game stuff still rears its ugly head every once in a while. Penalties are still a huge problem for this Cowboys team, and right, wrong, or indifferent, that tends to be something that gets lumped under the banner of coaching. But no, I do think it's appropriate to give Mike McCarthy its flowers. We get to talk to Emmitt Smith on our show a while back, and he was the first one when we asked, what's the difference for Dak this year? Why does he look so much better? He said play calling, play sequencing, and understanding of how all this fits together for the Cowboys this year. He gave a lot of credit to the play caller, and I think it's deserved.
It's Mike Golic Jr. Gojo with us here in the GBag Nation on 105.3 The Fan. We talk a lot about the offense. Defensively, the Cowboys certainly looked a little bit susceptible against Seattle. Are you still looking at the Cowboys' defense as one of the best in the NFL, or they're starting to leak a little bit?
It is, but at the same time, we know, game script is always certainly going to be important to how the Cowboys defense operates, because we've seen, hey, you can get gashed up the middle. They can get run on here. That can still become an issue for them, even though that's been something we've talked about for the last couple of off seasons in Dallas. But there's just no ignoring what they can do when they do get opportunities to pin their ears back. And we've kind of seen, it's so funny in a world where when Trevon Diggs burst onto the scene, it was because he was the guy that took the ball away but got thrown at a lot, and then started to really settle into just being a great down-in, down-out corner. And now we're going through the Deron Bland revival season, where the guy's got more pick sixes in an NFL season than we've ever seen, but also comes off a game where he gave up more yards and a half than anyone in the NFL had through the course of this year. So it feels like some of the similar boom and bust tendencies, but I think it's a lot more boom as of late. I still think it's an incredible defense in the NFL. Is it maybe the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns right now? Probably falls just short of that because of some of the issues against the run, but this is still a high-end machine that when it's humming really, really works well.
All right, we know you're a college football gentleman. Did the committee get it right?
They gave us a great 4, but no, they got it wrong. Florida State should have been in there. I mean, if games are supposed to mean anything, Florida State was supposed to have a chance to be in there. But this is a good reminder, right? All conferences, even in the Power 5, are not viewed as equal. We've heard people say out loud and reference the Power 2 in the Big Ten and the SEC, and you look no further than the way the ACC was categorized here was lesser than. If I firmly believe Florida State had Big Ten or SEC on the side of their helmet and they played that schedule during the year, even though the Big Ten schedule, I don't know outside of the 3 teams in the East how excited I'm supposed to be in than the Iowa defense and punter. But you look at that, I truly think if Florida State had been playing in a different conference, we'd have done what we do in a lot of these cases where we said, oh, they found a way to win with a backup. And then they found a way to win with their third string guy in there. And they're going to get back, by the way, their second string quarterback in Tate Rodemaker if they had made it into the CFP. And so all of those things didn't matter in the face of the committee being able to pick based off vibes, which they are legally allowed to do with the rules they've got set up there. But no, they got it wrong, and it's not going to matter because these games are going to rock. These matchups are going to be great. I'm so excited. The way these semifinal games slated up to Alabama versus Michigan both feel like teams that want to knock your head in, but have quarterbacks that can make plays. And then Texas and Washington. Get your popcorn ready, man. Those are 2 of the best offensive play calling groups between Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer for Washington, and then Steve Sarkisian in Texas. You got NFL wide receivers everywhere. That's going to be a laser light show, and it's going to be great, and it's going to make us forget the committee did the wrong thing.
Who would you have left out then out of those 4 if Florida State would have been in?
I'd have left Alabama out. They lost head-to-head to Texas. They had an opportunity to do it. And I understand the committee's supposed to take into account, hey, growth over the season. And you guys all know this. What does every football team say since the dawn of time? We want to be playing our best football by the end of the season. You can change a lot. And Alabama did a lot of growing up after the Texas game, after the South Florida game, where it seemed like they were hitting rock bottom. They're definitely different, but personnel-wise, it didn't change. It just got better. And that same Texas team, it's not like they got worse through the course of the season. We saw them keep their foot down on the gas through the year. And so with that head-to-head being involved in there, you'd have had to leave them out. Undefeated Pac-12 champion, given how we viewed the Pac-12 this year, wasn't going to get left out. And certainly undefeated Big Ten champion with the wins that clearly the committee values against Penn State and Ohio State. Michigan wasn't getting left out either. So I would have had the SEC as the outside looking in for the final year.
Hey, Mike, we're starting to look at college tape for the draft. I know that Zach and I do that, and I want to say this, Joe Alt. I don't know what you guys do at Notre Dame with these offensive linemen, and I know you have a great history there with the coaches and stuff that have been through South Bend, but looking at him and the Penn State kid, just comparison, Alt's the best offensive tackle in the draft, or he's going to be the best offensive tackle in the draft.
Yeah, I think the advantage for Joe, and really when you've talked about the Notre Dame guys going all the way back to Zach, by the way, is they come in with such a high floor in addition to all the over-the-top stuff. And Joe's just so damn big. He's a mountain. It takes forever to get around him. If you can, he's got the arm length that people love and value in that. Olu Fashanu is a much more explosive athlete than Joel. I would give him that. Like when you look at his lower body, how he comes out, the things he's capable of, and the fact that he's like 20 years old, like he's one of those guys that is going to grow into this. Not saying he's a comparable player, but it's similar to the appeal of like a Penei Sewell from a few years ago, where he's still becoming a man in terms of his body. So there's all those things you're going to get. But if you're looking for a guy that's going to come in right away and be able to slot in seamlessly at something approaching a Pro Bowl level, Joe's got that to him. He's extremely mature. He's a great leader for them. And technically, in addition to all the physical gifts, he does so much of that stuff you like that you would expect coming from a program with the kind of pedigree that he does.
Do you think Texas will beat Washington, Mike?
I'm probably leaning to picking Washington right now. Part of it depends on which version of Washington's offensive line shows up, because they're a very good group. I think they were just named a Joe Moore Award finalist today, which is the award presented annually to the best offensive line in college football. And they've been really good for a majority of the year, but they were great in that Pac-12 championship matchup against an Oregon team that everyone thought was going to smash them in the trenches. And now they're going up against the Texas team. We know their defensive tackles' names. Think about that. In college football and for Texas, we know Byron Murphy, T'Vondre Sweat. We're acquainted with these guys now after the season that they've had. So it's going to be an incredible challenge for a guy like Parker Brailsford, who's the starting center for Washington. Stud of a kid, redshirt freshman, but he's 6'2", 275. So at some point, we're going to see, hey, can you overcome that again in a way they have all season long? That's, I think, going to be the matchup in a game full of space aliens again at wide receiver. I think that trench matchup's going to go a long way. Right now, I lean Washington, but I'm excited to study up on this one, no doubt.
Mike Golic Jr. with us here in the GBag Nation. Okay, you go college town to college town to college town. How do you power rank your top 3 or 4 college town cuisines, Mike?
Let me tell you what, I saw this today, and let me see if I can pull this up so I can give the author credit, because this was bittersoutherner.com. So this was Keith Lehman wrote an article, an ode to gas station food. She called it "My Favorite Restaurants Serve Gas." And getting to go in 2021 to Oxford, Mississippi changed me as a person. Ole Miss is one of my favorite college towns I have ever been to. The square downtown where everything is, the nightlife, the restaurants, all that stuff is great. But the 2 Chevron stations on either side of campus that serve chicken on a stick were my home away from home. I think I had 4 meals at gas stations while I was in Oxford. And the beauty to just go down there, be able to order ribs with a delicious bark and mac and cheese, and then walk over and get like batteries and the charger that I forgot right across there. There's just something beautiful about that. And so Oxford's always going to have a really special place in my heart for that reason.
How was your Buc-ee's experience?
Man, let me tell you what, that place, you want to talk about something that lives up to all the hype in there. There is no greater joy I've seen. I was by the checkout counter. So I went in there and I got everything, right? I got the beaver nuggets. I got the brisket sandwich. I went and bought like half a pound of beef jerky from the bar over there. That's the most incredible thing. It's like a meat bar, but just Unreal. For jerky. It's beautiful. I got gifts for my niece and nephew. We got everyone strapped up. But the part that really drove it home for me is I'm by the checkout counter near the front. And I'm getting ready to hand my stuff to the cashier. And I don't see behind me yet the mascot. Buc-ee is back there. All I see and hear is a little kid walking into the store in front of me, point, and then shout with as much like Christmas morning joy, Buc-ee, and run over to the mascot. So obviously I had to turn around and give the picture, but any place that can inspire that kind of joy in a child, to me, is doing things right. So Buc-ee's was incredible. Clean bathrooms, great service, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
There's no question about it. Cleanest bathrooms, potentially in all of America. I mean, I've had times where I actually left my own house to go drop a grumper at Buc-ee's just because they were more prepared, than even I was. So
they were, and it is beautiful to see places like Buc-ee's. I think of that, Route 66, the truck stop in Iowa, world's largest truck stop there. The cleanliness of the bathrooms in there. Good on everyone for taking care of the truck drivers and the people hauling it across the country, making sure they got a clean place to go to the bathroom, shower up, get right there. Shout out to Buc-ee's on that, man. It was an awesome bathroom. I went out of my way. I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold it. I'm going to make sure I got time and a reason to go in there and not just be the weirdo walking around with beef jerky, ogling the bathroom.
No, it's a veteran move by you. When do you start prepping the body for a Vegas Super Bowl?
Oh, man, I started hydrating 2 weeks ago.
Good for you.
We're going to be out there for a whole week. That thing's going to try. It's going to try and kill us. We saw a little preview of that with the Formula One race out there and what everyone was going through. I talked to some people that were out there for that. I don't know how we're going to do this, guys. Like, how are you guys feeling? Are you as nervous as I am?
Oh, petrified.
Yeah.
I got butterflies.
Took out extra life insurance myself.
Hey, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. That's day one stuff. So good job out of you.
Yes, sir. Hey, you inspire football joy like no other for us, Golic Jr. Our text loves you, and we look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Hey, guys, appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Let's all stay hydrated to start here, because if you're thirsty when you get there, you're already done for. So we're going to be ready to go. Appreciate you guys.
I'll drink to that.